But yeah, we can move on to our next one. We've got the Philadelphia Eagles going into Tampa to take on the Bucks.
So, man, talk about like two teams that kind of just like are rumbling in a little bit, right? You got the Eagles who have lost 5 of their last 6 games, and man, like I think coming into this season, we both were like, this team can make a run for it, but there's just been a lot of more doubts. I think of late, Hurts has not played well. I think a lot of people were picking him as like the MVP. Maybe the first half of the season, and just as good of a season he's had in the first half, he just had pretty bad like last 6 games here. So, AJ Brown, he's a little banged up too. Keep an eye out on his injury report there too. Like that'll be big and huge if he's missing in action. The Bucks though, like they shut out the Panthers, but they only scored 9 points against the Panthers. Like, so again, they're not coming in like guns blazing here. They definitely have had their struggles. They do have a lot of weapons there still. I mean, Mike Evans, he's been his normal 1,000 yards, 5+ touchdowns, etc. There. Chris Godwin, same thing. So they do have the weapons there on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, was one of the top run defenses in football, which I think that bodes well, especially against this run heavy Eagles team, and a solid offensive line for the Eagles as well. But I think the key thing that's for the Eagles too, along with Jalen Hurts' struggles, is their pass defense just has been terrible. And that can really bode well, I think, for Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So uh, I'm gonna take the Bucks here. This is in Tampa. The Bucks are underdogs here by 3 points. I think I think my key factor here was, this Eagles team. They lost to the Giants and the Cardinals recently. Like, I don't know. That's pretty bad. Again, very talented team. I don't get what exactly is happening with them, but they're just not playing to that level is that they're very much capable of. So something with the coaching, something in the water. I don't know. Inflation's finally getting up to them. I don't know exactly what's happening, but yeah, this team just doesn't have it. And I think when you're going into the playoffs, you definitely want to have that it factor, a little bit of moxie. I think they kind of lost that here, and yeah, going against this Bucks, I think this Bucks team actually matches up really well with them. For all the points I just mentioned, poor pass defense. Well, guess what? The Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, they can definitely get some yardage over there. Baker Mayfield had like a career year basically, and then yeah, the Bucks have a really good run defense. I think that bodes well against the offense for the Eagles. So all in all, I think it's kind of not the best matchup, and then also away for the Eagles, and then also yeah, just the Eagles just have not been playing that well. So all in all, like I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna pick the Bucks here, who are the underdogs, winning this game.
Yeah. I mean, talent alone would just tell you, like, the Eagles, this is a slam dunk, like, no problem. Just looking at that roster, what they did last year, what we thought of them. I mean, even from a cultural standpoint, I've always, at least, seeing the rise of Jalen Hurts and everything they were, able to do from last year, it's like, I never thought, maybe the culture of that team could be, problematic, or there's some, could be something in the clubhouse we don't really know about. But, just looking at where they're kind of coming from, moving into this first game, losing 4 of 5, looking at the injuries from Hurts, they're talking about, his middle finger, maybe not being able to grip the ball right, make throws. I mean, that's huge. And, to not have, possibly AJ Brown, I think I've heard that he's slated to play, but he's going to be banged up. Devontae Smith, missed last week's game and, was banged up in the one prior. Not sure about DeAndre Swift or, even Darius Slay on defense. So it's kind of like, man, there are a lot of things just negatively trending for a team. And I think when a team starts to skid in this fashion, it really doesn't matter what statistics you're looking at, what analytics, reports you're digging into, or kind of looking at the talent on paper and saying like they should be this, they should be, that. It like this kind of it moves past all this stuff, and it's just kind of that instinctual momentum and that instinctual confidence that you're going to have as a team or even as, just a fan of this game, kind of understanding like this team's hobbled and they're coming in, just not looking themselves like this is gonna, probably end up not boding well for them. I mean, to be embarrassed by the New York Giants in a must-win game, they could have locked up the 2 seed right there. I mean, it's huge, and they were just completely walked off the field. I mean, losing against the Cardinals at home, I mean, that shouldn't happen to a team that's, at the very top of the standings, and they were. I mean, for most of the year, they were undefeated, or they were, in that 1 seed for pretty much all of the first half, and it just has come crashing down for them. For the Bucks, it's like I don't even love this team. I don't get out of my, I don't jump out of my chair thinking like, yeah, this team's got, some edge, or this team has, potential to make a little bit of a run in this playoffs. I just kind of look at it as, Philly is so battered and they just look so, kind of brittle coming in that, whoever's lining up against him has a great shot. And, I give Baker Mayfield a lot of credit for the year he's had. I mean, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, completely, putting himself back up there as somebody that maybe a franchise could trust as a starter. Can he do it again next year for Tampa? Like, it's possible. He might have a Geno Smith type of kind of year two after the big year here, but to be ninth in passing after kind of, being tossed around the league and kind of, blowing his top opportunity out of the gate with Cleveland, it's nice to see when a veteran can get him back, get himself back into a place of being, an effective, player, or just somebody that, folks are wanting to trust. So, I mean, that's a huge perk, I think, for Tampa. I mean, the last, half of the year, they had some pretty big wins, I'd say. I mean, just knocking out Atlanta, Green Bay and Jacksonville, they got some wins there too. I mean, they are capable of beating playoff teams. It's not like, they're beating up on the Carolinas and others, at the bottom of the standings here. So Tampa, has the ability to play against better teams and come out with W's. But for me, this is just, it puts Philly in the spotlight of like, man, what the hell is going on there? Could we see a potential Nick Sirianni firing? I'm sure they might clean house with the coordinators if they go out in the first round here, but I'm completely with you. I think this will be a good competitive game, but yeah, man, I've got Tampa at home, taking care of business.
I mean, talk about just like a complete 180 of a team. And, if they didn't have as good of a start as they did, they very much so. It feels like kind of like the Jaguars, but yeah, they just had a better start than the Jaguars. And, obviously, I think, yeah, to your point, I think Jalen Hurts probably, yeah, is playing hurt. He definitely has looked like he's been playing hurt. And similar to, I think, Trevor Lawrence, who's been playing hurt and just has not played well. And I think that really is the detriment to their teams and their records here. And then yeah, we kind of compare that and contrast that with kind of what's happened with some of these teams that are just getting hot with their second string quarterbacks, or like Joe Flacco with the Browns. It definitely goes to show like, hey, it's nice to have that relief kind of quarterback in a way. It is nice to have a second string quarterback, kind of like how Jake Browning, he was able to kind of relieve Joe Burrow a little bit there. So, but yeah, a lot of things. It'd be interesting, yeah, to see if Sirianni gets more pressure maybe on next season. Like, yeah, it's tough to say like how you evaluate the situation, but it really just goes to show like the coordinators that the Eagles lost this past offseason was detrimental, with Gannon going to the Cardinals there. Yeah, the defense just looks awful now without him. So he definitely was instrumental in terms of implementing strategy and making game time adjustments and just working at that defense, because that defense was dominant. And yeah, this season they just have lost that dominance there. Um, with a couple of changes here and there, but it's like they still have a lot of their staples. So and then Shane Steichen too on the offensive side, like the offense has looks like they've taken a step back too, regressed a little bit there too as well. So yeah, just a lot of things that are just kind of going in a downward spiral, I think, for the Eagles. But any given Sunday or Saturday, in this case in the NFL. But yeah, I think we're both just thinking, man, this Bucks team, they don't look that great too. But man, that Eagles team looks pretty bad right now. So
Yeah, and going on coordinators, who was their defensive coordinator to start off the year? It was none other than Sean Desai, former
Yeah.
Chicago Bear, DC, who had his duties stripped from him and given over to Matt Patricia. So it's just like, yeah, man, if you're plucking from the Bears tree, like, hey, that's number one problem you got right there. Patricia, I don't know. Maybe he's able to cobble together something for Tampa. Could I see the Eagles winning this game? Like, yeah, they should be winning this football
Yeah.
game. Like, 100% they should be winning. But yeah, it's just if I had to place a bet or go with my gut, it's Tampa. Just to do what they have to do at home to get to the next round. Um, but I think either of these teams just feel like they're lame ducks moving into the round to follow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like whoever goes against either the Eagles or the Bucks, they're like, oh, that's not so bad. I think we could take them, right? So yeah, both teams are just kind of lumbering in there and yeah, hoping for the best there. But yeah, it's kind of sad to see how the Eagles. Like, I think a lot of people that this offseason, there was a lot of hype, I think, for the Eagles, and then now, yeah, like after this later half of the season, just such a disappointment, I think, right now. But all can be redeemed in this playoffs. We'll see what kind of happens here. But yeah, it's just not the best feels, I think, going into the playoffs for now.